Hi, let's start with chapter 1. Chapter 1 is Introduction to Project Management and the definition. Okay, so we start with the definition of a project. This definition comes out of PMI and it says that a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. Temporary means that a project has a definitive start and a definitive end. When the end is reached, the objectives are evaluated with the results and project can be terminated if the project objectives are no longer valid, or maybe the project has met its objective and that's the end. So every project creates a unique product, service, or result. Now you may think that some products are pretty similar to each other. I would give an example: two similar buildings which are built on same design. But there is something unique about each one of them. That might be their coordinates, their address, their building number. So every product would be unique and would be identified. So a project can create a product, and a product can be a component, enhancement, or a service end. Let's take an example. Let's say that the government awards a massive infrastructure project to a company, and the company then contracts some of the work to another subcontractor. So it will be a project for the main contractor as well as a project in its own sense for the subcontractor. So it can be service or a capability, like a business function that supports production or distribution. There are projects such as inclusion of new tools and techniques in a company. You might have heard of SAP. Companies who adopt ERP systems such as SAP, they have to authorize internal projects. Then we have an improvement in the existing product or service line, such as process improvement projects that of Lean, Six Sigma technology. Then we have research projects. It can be applied research in result of market change or technology enhancement. Okay, so here we have a question. Please read through the question and the choice, and you may eliminate any choice that you think is not the answer, and the one that remains will be your answer, and your answer is in next slide. So the answer is that a project does not repeat itself every month. We talked about a project which has a very important characteristic that it has a definitive timeline. It will start and it will end. So, since it is a one time undertaking, so it does not repeat itself every month. If it repeats itself, it will be operations, not a project. Okay, so we talked about the basic definition of a project. Now we will talk about the basic definition of project management. So, project management is the application of knowledge, skill, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet the project requirements. So, these definitions are set out by PMI, and it is very important for us to understand them. PMBOK has 47 logically grouped project management processes, which are categorized into five process groups. These are initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and control, and closing. Okay, no project has unlimited resources, and it is very important while managing a project to identify requirements. Okay, for some of you who are with a construction background, you would think, okay, we really do not spend much time in identifying requirements, and requirements are pretty much set out in the contract and procedures, and the detailed engineering drawings are, are very vivid, and they're very clear about the product. So why would unifying requirements would be so important? I would say let's take an example of an IT project. In IT projects, it's not very clear, and project managers would have to spend a lot of time trying to understand customers' requirement. Let's assume that the project team is located in multiple locations in all over the globe. They have different working times, they have different languages, they have different cultural sensitivities. So, gauging requirements would be a very rigorous process as compared to construction projects. So, this is just food for thought. So, addressing the various needs, concerns, and expectations of stakeholders in planning and executing the project, managing stakeholders towards meeting the project requirements, and creating project deliverables. Here are an example of a few of the project constraints: their scope, quality, schedule, budget, resources, and risk. Okay, what is organizational project management? So, projects live in an organization, and typically they have to align themselves with organizational objectives. There are different techniques that organizations employ to enhance and sustain their project delivery methods. They may include the program management, portfolio management, and organizations also establish PMO. We will talk about them in later slides. So, a portfolio refers to a collection of projects, programs, sub portfolios, and operations managed as a group to achieve strategic objectives. So, you might have seen organizations typically have a strategy, they have their business plans, they have a long-term vision for them to be able to deliver certain type of products, services to a certain segment of the market. So to achieve that goal, they would have to employ organization project management technique and align their projects, programs, sub-programs, and operations in the same direction as to achieve that objective. That is portfolio. In simple words, if you would ask an organization for their portfolio, then typically they'll come up with their brochure, and the brochure has all of the products and services that they can employ. So it is the collection of programs, sub-program projects, and operations managed as a group to achieve strategic objectives. It is very important to understand that these are aligned to achieve the strategic objectives of an organization. Okay, then our programs. Let's take an example. There is an organization, and they have different segments of projects. They have oil and gas projects. They have water treatment projects. They have software projects. They have not-for-profit projects. So, wouldn't it be better if they manage similar projects under one program? So they would take all of their oil and gas projects and put them in one program. They will take all of their water treatment programs, projects, and put them in one program. So with this, I can immediately think of a few benefits. I would say, okay, they can have shared resources. Every project would not have to buy resources for a project individually. They can share between them. They can learn from other projects. They would have a shared history. And with that, they can enhance their project delivery. A program is defined as a group of projects and sub-projects managed in a coordinated way to reap the benefits of shared resources and risk, etc. So basically, organizations use this strategy to manage similar projects. As for example, if an organization has projects in water treatment, they have infrastructure projects, they have process improvement projects. So they will combine projects as per their domain and call it a program. Here we have an example. It's a new communication satellite system with projects for design of the satellite and the ground stations, the construction of each, the integration of the system, and the launch of the satellite. Portfolio management refers to management of programs, projects, sub-programs grouped to achieve strategic objectives. These programs, portfolios, projects, sub-projects may not be necessarily interdependent or directly related. In contrast to program management, we were managing the related projects together to share risk and resources. But in portfolio management, the prime objective is to align all business activity towards the organization's objective. Okay, so projects are typically authorized against an opportunity. Projects are authorized to obtain the strategic objective. Projects are authorized against an opportunity. So that opportunity might arise from market demand, strategic business need, social need, environmental consideration, customer request, technological advancement, or legal requirement. Talking about the project management and organizational project management, there is a structure called PMO. It's a short form for Project Management Office. The typical role of PMO is to standardize the project related governance processes and facilitates the sharing of resource, methodologies, tools, and techniques. And its responsibilities can range from providing project management support functions to actually being responsible for the direct management of one or more projects. Okay, so we talked about the definition of PMO. Now there are a few types of PMO, and they are identified by the degree of control they have on the projects. So in supportive role, PMO does not have a controlling role, and they are in a supportive role. They typically provide best practices, training, lesson learned from other projects. In a controlling type of PMO, they are in some degree of control and they require compliance through various means. So they not only provide a framework, but they do require compliance. And the last type is directive, where the degree of control of PMO is very high because the PMO is itself managing the projects. Okay, the primary function of a PMO is to support project managers in a variety of ways. So, managing shared resources, identifying, developing project management methodologies, coaching, mentoring, training, and oversight, monitoring compliance with project management standards, policies, procedures, and templates, developing and managing project policies, procedures, templates, and shared documentation, coordinating communication across projects. Okay, what is operations management? So operations management is an area of management concerning with ongoing production of goods and or services. So they are entirely different from project management. So if you remember the definition of a project, that has some characteristics like it has a definitive start and end. It creates a unique product or service. But operations are different. Operations are ongoing. Okay, operations management is definitely different than project management, but there is an interface. Since they both live in an organization, so the project management teams would have to understand the stakeholder requirements from the operation management that may affect their work in future endeavors. Okay, so we talked about operational management. and the importance of identifying requirements from the operational stakeholders. You may go through this list of operational stakeholders. The sole reason for a project to exist is to align itself with the organization's vision and strategy. If the project does not align itself with the organization's strategy, then there is no reason for it to exist. Project does not exist to satisfy a project team or a typical function in the organization. So, organization structure and its strategy provides guidance and direction to project management, especially when one considers that projects exist to support organizational strategies. Business value is a concept that is unique to each organization. Let's take an example. Let's say that a company is going to bid for project A or project B. Project A is, let's say, $1 billion, and project B is, let's say, $1.5 billion. So project B obviously will create more monetary value, but let's take another variable in consideration. Let's say the project A aligns with the organization's objective and strategy. So that project A will create more business value than project B. So it is defined as the entire value of the business. This is the sum of all tangible and intangible elements. And whether an organization is a government agency or non-profit organization, all organizations focus on attaining business value for their activities. Okay, what does a project manager do? The project manager is the person assigned by the performing organization to lead the team that is responsible for achieving the project objectives. So, a project manager's role would be different than a functional manager or an operation manager. Typically, function managers are focused on a certain function or a business unit, but project managers' efforts are all subtended on performing the project management activities. Okay, so there are attributes of components of a project manager. Its knowledge, performance, and personal. And we will expand on these responsibilities and competencies in chapter 3. Okay, when I think of interpersonal skills of a project manager, I think of communication skills. He's in a leadership role. He would imply team building, motivation, influencing political and cultural awareness, and multiple skills of a project manager to manage his team successfully.